FedNow. Do y'all know what that mean? Do you know what FedNow mean? If FedNow ends up I'm sorry, I know I'm supposed to talk about battle rap. If FedNow ends up passing Jerome Powell, this is the guy that's running the Federal Reserve that's raising interest rates. Before it was Ben Bernanke. He never raised interest rates, but he needed to. Jerome Powell's the one that's doing it to try to slow inflation down. Well, now Jerome Powell's talking about we need FedNow. It's a digital currency. What do you think is going to happen when he passes that? It's going to link to your bank account. Before you start paying for anything, and you paying for Amazon, you paying for your subscriptions, you paying for gas, it's all going to go through FedNow. They're going to know exactly how much money y'all spending. They're going to know how much money y'all making. They're going to tax y'all on everything. I'm telling you what it is. Like whatever civil liberties we got left, they about to be gone. You know what I mean? So what I've been doing is, I'm sorry. I've been thinking about getting out of America. I'm just saying what it is. You know, so they trying to pass FedNow, and then right now you got the BRIC nations. It's a war y'all ain't paying attention to because y'all is worried about Tay-Rocks. Shout out to Rock.
New footage has just been released showing Bob Lee's heartbreaking final moments. The CCTV footage shows the father of two clutching his wounds after being stabbed in San Francisco in the early hours of the morning. He approaches a car that stops for him, and it's believed that he was begging the person inside for help, only for the unidentified car to shockingly drive away, leaving him to die. Bob then stumbles towards an apartment building, but before he can hit the intercom, he collapses backwards. He lies there motionless on the ground for several moments before managing to get to his knees and fumble on his phone. This is when a second car drives past, and he can be seen trying to make another last-ditch attempt to wave it down, but to his horror, it again drives away. When officers—
Goodbye Zelle, goodbye PayPal, goodbye Venmo. Every app that you have on your phone that is a payment processor, say goodbye and welcome to FedNow. FedNow should be launching in July 1st or so, and that's going to be the new payment processor. It's supposed to be able to transfer payments 365, 7 days a week, 24/7. Now, it's all fun and nice and dandy or whatever, but here is the problem. This is where things get bad, right? We're also accustomed to quick, fast, and in a hurry. We want it right now. Now, that's what they're promoting. But here's the big issue. FedNow will be the funnel that all money gets cycled through. It will go from your bank to FedNow to wherever you're trying to send the money to. So for instance, if you're trying to buy something from Instacart or anything you're buying online, Amazon, it's going to go from your bank to FedNow to Amazon, Walmart, wherever it is you're going to. Now, this is a problem. This is a major problem because now the federal government has full access to your bank account. And not just that, in the fine print, it says that the FedNow is programmable. Now, those of you guys that don't understand what programmable means, let me break this down to you. If, for an example, if let's say we happen to have a pandemic or whatever it is, and they decide, hey, only essential workers are able to go to work. If they know that you're not an essential worker, they can shut down your FedNow card to where, hey, you will not be able to get gas. You will not be able to use that credit card nowhere because you're not supposed to be out. Now, let me give you another example. Let's say you want to go and you want to buy ammo and you go over to Ammo Bros or Turner's or whatever the case is. And you say, hey, I want to buy 300 rounds of 9mm. You go, you give them your card, denied. You cannot purchase ammo. Why? The federal government doesn't want you to purchase any ammo. That's how FedNow will work.
Something really weird is going on in the world of crypto and high-tech finance. And don't just take it from me, take it from the facts. Case in point, 43-year-old Bob Lee stabbed to death on the streets in San Francisco. 2:35 in the morning, Tuesday morning, found alive, but barely, died in the hospital. And this guy is like a tycoon. He was the founder of Cash App. That's like Venmo, like a cash transfer thing. It's huge. He was a top executive of Square and also MobileCoin, a cryptocurrency startup. And he had moved away from San Francisco, but was there for like an event. It was a MobileCon leadership summit. He leaves behind a wife and 2 kids, and they don't have any suspects in custody on this death. Really weird. But maybe what's even weirder is that a lot of crypto guys have been dropping dead. Just since October, 3 top crypto executives have dropped dead. And joining me now with all these details is Caitlin Becker. She's a senior reporter with thedailymail.com. So who are the other?
Back to 2018, there was about 5. I believe this makes the 6th head honcho in crypto who's died under mysterious circumstances. Vyacheslav Taran, who is Russian, died in a mysterious helicopter crash. The circumstances around that are still kind of up in the air. 30-year-old Tian Kolinder died in his sleep. I mean, this is 30 years old. And the circumstances around Mushegians, which he was a crypto leader, he drowned off the coast of Puerto Rico the same day that he was tweeting very paranoid, very disturbing messages about the CIA and Mossad being after him. You know, following his death, it was revealed that he obviously had mental health issues, which I think was very clear. But it's hard to look away from the fact that all of these deaths happened very bizarrely and in pretty quick succession in a relatively small field.
Yeah, so the Mushegian was found floating, in the waters off Puerto Rico, like you said, having tweeted, someone's going to murder me. That's bizarre. Tian was worth, what, $3 billion? Is that what his...
That's what
I'm just wondering if it was his group, like the Amber Group, his company.
Yeah, the Amber Group was valued at $3 billion.
Morning, yeah, Bob Lee, also well known in the tech community as the creator of Cash App. That's a mobile payment service. So far, police only confirming that a fatal stabbing here happened here in the.
Yeah, it's getting serious now. Let's get it. The U.S. Federal Reserve banking system is launching its own Cash App called FedNow in July. This is a movement towards getting rid of physical money and having digital currency. Remember, I told y'all that was the plan in the first place. US dollar is losing its value and very fast. China and Russia are currently trying to undercut the US dollar, which would make one of them the more dominant currency. And with that being done, our government has to act fast. I believe they have. And before I continue, of course, everything is for educational purposes. Remember just a couple of months ago when the 3 cryptocurrency billionaires suddenly died. One in a fatal shooting, which they called a suicide, one in a helicopter crash, and other, of course, sudden suicide. Then you have Bob Lee, Cash App creator, who was fatally stabbed in San Francisco. And then you get the US Federal Reserve banking system launching its own Cash App. Of course, Cash App was purposely said. Then the app is called FedNow. Like, if that's not a big enough alert and red flag for you, I don't know what it is. Anything, it ain't good. Of course, all of this is being done because the US does not want to see any other country with the most dominant form of currency. Remember, to the elites, the only thing that matters is money, power, and natural resources. If you don't have all 3 of those within your control, you are a weak country. That's how they think about it. Unaliving the cryptocurrency billionaires gives them a free way to opening a new app called FedNow. If you don't got to worry about your competition, then there's no competition. Turn it into a monopoly. That's how the entire world was built, and it ain't gonna stop now. Let me know what y'all think about Russia and China trying to undercut the US dollar. And also let me know what y'all think about FedNow in a situation with cryptocurrency becoming the ultimate currency.
All this mainstream media noise is a distraction to keep from noticing that the BRICS nations are in the process of discovering a new world reserve currency. There are rumors that Saudi Arabia may join the BRICS alliance, which is between Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. News has recently surfaced that these countries are teaming up with one goal: to challenge the US dollar's dominance as the world reserve currency. These nations understand that the dollar gives the US too much power, so by creating a new world reserve currency that is backed by multiple countries, together they hope to maintain stability in global markets, but take that power away from the United States. If Saudi Arabia officially agrees to join the alliance, then that would make make this new reserve currency much more powerful, considering that oil sales are only denominated in dollars, hence why it's called the petrodollar, which plays a major role in global economic trade. If this new reserve currency were to take dominance over the US dollar, then emerging markets and developing countries could actually see an increase in trade, liquidity, and international investment opportunities. Now, the concerning part about all this is that challenging the US dollar may cause the United States to no longer be seen as a leading world power, and we all know that the United States won't just give that up without a fight. Could this be the catalyst for World War III? Let me know what you think, and like and follow for more updates. All this
Meanwhile, BRICS, which is the acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are teaming up to form a new world currency that will dethrone the United States dollar. Now, what does that mean for the United States? What does that mean for our economy and our money? Everybody should be talking about this a little bit more. Meanwhile, BRICS, which is the acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are teaming up to form a new world currency that will dethrone the United States dollar. Now, what does that mean for the United States?
All this means...
So, nobody told you, this is what's currently going on with the United States dollar and why we could be in a lot of trouble. Number one, Kenya just signed a deal with Saudi Arabia and the United Arabian Emirates to buy oil with Kenya currency or Kenya shillings instead of utilizing the United States dollar. Number two, China and France just secured its very first deal with LNG gas, utilizing the Chinese yuan currency instead of the United States dollar. And then number three, the Southeast Asian nations are currently planning to delist and stop utilizing the euro, the United States dollar, as well as the sterling silver as a means of currency for trade, and choosing to go with local currencies as well. Here's why everybody needs to know this. Number one, we already know that the value of the United States dollar is currently going to crap because of the fact that the Federal Reserve decided to print trillions of dollars for the past 15 years since the United States housing market crash of 2008. What's even worse, currently right now, all of the countries that I said are currently making an alliance, and I currently have an alliance called the BRICS Nation. If you don't know what BRICS Nation is, it's a faction of other superpower countries, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, in terms of the overall global economic market. Now, meanwhile, while we're sitting here fighting a war in Russia, here's the main reason why we're doing it. It's not because of Ukraine, it's because of the fact that we are currently headed towards World War III, and it's going to be the battle over the power of the entire global economic world. Currencies are changing. Currently, right now, everybody needs to start investing. There's going to be a lot of opportunity that arises from this, but there's going to be a lot of calamity first, and it's going to get worse before it decides to get better. Let me know what you guys think about this, and like always, it's going to be a great day.
The crypto bull run has not started yet. It's going to happen in 2024. My Bitcoin price prediction of $12,000 still stands. What you're witnessing right now is a bear market rally. I know it's stirring that FOMO sensation, but maintain discipline because this is a trap. I don't want you to get baited into this dead cat bounce because emotions and FOMO are a powerful thing. I believe that in the next bull run, there's going to be a lot of money to be made. There's going to be a lot of new millionaires minted. But if you have limited money and you're trying to turn a small amount of money into a large amount of money, then you cannot screw up your entry point. So what am I expecting in the next 6 months? I'm expecting three things. One, the economic situation will get worse. Two, I do not expect any help from the Federal Reserve when it comes to money printing, quantitative easing. Three, I expect the stock market and the cryptocurrency market to continue going down lower. I believe that this upswing is a normal bear market rally, another classic dead cat bounce. Now here's the good part. The bull run starts in 2024, and I'll tell you why. Bitcoin halving is in the first half of 2024. At that time, we'll have basic economics working in our favor, supply and demand imbalance from the halving. It's not going to happen on that day, on the halving event, because of the lag effect. In 20
is BRICS. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now Russia thinks that BRICS should do more, so it has floated the idea of a common currency. Reports say they're working on a proposal which is likely to be taken up in August. That's when the BRICS summit will be held in South Africa. How will this happen? Some of this is already happening, like the settlement of trade in national currencies. India has an agreement with Russia. It's called the rupee-ruble trade mechanism, but Russia has more expectations from India. It is banking on India for more support, and Russia has similar hopes from China, and it's not going to be easy. Will China, that wants the yuan to replace the US dollar, agree to a BRICS currency? And would India want economic integration with China, especially given the challenges at the border?
The US dollar is about 60% of the value of all the currency on the planet, and more than half of the dollars reside outside the United States. The reason every country has US dollars is, first of all, that's what central banks use as the reserve currency. Second of all, oil is priced in dollars. So this is the world, and what you see here is that these are the countries that are avoiding the US dollar in trade. They're doing bilateral agreements where they'll either hold each other's currency and settle that way, or they're establishing, like right now, they're talking about a BRICS bank, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, having a bank that will do settlements between the countries directly without using the US dollar. These countries, they tried to avoid using the US dollar, like Iran tried, and we banned them from using SWIFT. How many here have made wire transfers before? So do you know what a SWIFT number is? It's a code that you plug in, and this SWIFT system is what transfers those dollars from one person's account to another person's account. Well, Iran decided that they were going to sell oil only in euros. They got banned from SWIFT. But there's countries right now coming up with a replacement for SWIFT, and it doesn't use the dollar. It's the Sukra system. And Iraq started selling oil for euros. In Libya, they were talking about creating the gold dinar and selling oil for gold. So those are the countries that are trying to use something other than the dollar. And then you've got physical gold accumulation. I'll show you later that China is accumulating an immense amount of gold, but all the countries with an up arrow, that's gold accumulation. Then we have gold repatriation. Germany has been asking for their gold back, and they're getting it. Venezuela has repatriated their gold from the Bank of England. And then if we put this on a timeline, here's the nails in the coffin for the dollar standard. This is my evidence that I think is proof that the death of the dollar is coming, and it's coming shortly. Nixon ended Bretton Woods, and we went on the dollar standard. Then the first nail in the coffin is Iraq sells oil in euros. The crisis of 2008, and we added 1.25 trillion to our base money in the United States. As we add to the base currency, people get worried about inflation. They start rushing toward gold and silver. Iran ends oil sales in dollars, and they're taking commodities in trade for oil. They're taking, in Turkey, they take the local currency and then buy gold in Turkey and export the gold to Iran. So they're basically selling oil for gold. They do the same thing with India. QE2, quantitative easing, that's more currency printing in the United States. Libya, China and Russia bypassed the dollar. They did a bilateral trade agreement where they hold each other's currency, and they do direct debt settlement without having to wire transfer US dollars. Chinese president just recently said that the dollar as the world's reserve currency is a product of the past. Utah recognized silver and gold as money. China and Iran bypassed the US dollar with a bilateral trade agreement. Venezuela repatriates its gold. China and Japan trade directly. India and Japan bypass the US dollar. Russia and Iran trade directly. Iran sells India oil for rupees and commodities.
And as we've been told in both cases, in whether we're talking the BRICS currency or the Shanghai Corporation Organization, they will both use gold to peg to their new system. Whether it be a new BRICS currency that will be pegged to gold. Remember, in order to get everyone to the table, all you have to do is say, look at what those bastards in the West are doing. They're going to freeze your assets. They're going to kick you out of SWIFT. Heck, Europe just voted to take the assets that they froze from Russia and use them to rebuild the Ukraine. So all of these other countries who maybe don't really like what the U.S. is doing, well, that's the rallying cry. It is the gold pegged to a new system that will be the glue that makes it work. So whether it be the BRICS currency or whether it be the petro yuan, which is immediately convertible into gold on the Shanghai Gold Exchange, or the new settlement currency by the Shanghai Corporation Organization, do you think there's any coincidence? Do you think that this is any coincidence that the central banks have bought more gold than at any time in the last 55 years? Look at the three countries that are leading the way. Turkey just joined the BRICS. India's in the BRICS. Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, all of these countries are part of the Shanghai Corporation Organization. They are preparing for a global shift. We are witnessing a massive de-dollarization. And here's the nail on the dollar coffin. Just came out a few days ago. Saudi Arabia said at this latest meeting that at Davos that they are open to taking other currencies for oil settlement. Why? Because there's strength in numbers. In and of themselves, these countries cannot stand up to the West. But together, they have a bigger GDP, a bigger military presence, and they are indeed coalescing together against the Western hypocrisy, against the Western hegemony, and they are coalescing against the West. It's happening. It's happening. I'm telling you, this is happening. The world is moving to de-dollarization. There's no question about that. But let's just play it out for 1 second, right? What happens? How does it happen? How does the Great Reset that Klaus Schwab talked about happens? It's really very easy. Saudi Arabia gets up on stage after all of the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed, and they say to the West, hey, thank you. Thank you for the memories. It's been great. We appreciate the 50 years of protection. But you know what? You guys are going green. You've already told us you're going green. We've partnered up with 80% of human population, and they're not going green. And so we're going to open up oil sales in other currencies. Maybe they say we're just going to do it in the new petro yuan, or maybe it's going to be the new BRICS currency, the central bank digital currency pegged to gold. But what I will tell you is this, when that happens, when that really happens, now we just saw they're open to it, but when it happens, bang, just like that, every country on the planet that's had to own dollars to buy oil will dump those dollars. And a tidal wave, a tsunami of inflation will hit the shores of the West. And when that happens, God help us all, because all of these assets are inversely correlated to what? To a spike in interest rates. When you see that inflationary tsunami hit the shores of the West, you will see a spike in interest rates that has to rise in order to compensate for the loss of purchasing power. The Federal Reserve is a sideshow. They will never raise rates high enough to compensate. They will never raise rates high enough to tackle inflation. If this happens and the dollar loses its singular world reserve currency and every country on the planet no longer needs to hold dollars in order to buy oil, just wait and see what happens to it.
Right now, the USA is a mess. Our economy is crashing. Inflation is out of control. Russia has joined with China. Can you believe that? Saudi Arabia has joined with Iran. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea have formed together as a menacing and destructive coalition. Would have never happened if I were your president. Would never have happened. Nor would Russia attacking Ukraine have happened. All of those lives would be saved. All of those beautiful cities would be standing. Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat, frankly, in 200 years. There will be no defeat like that. That will take us away from being even a great power. If you took the 5 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done.
The US to fear BRICS and their new currency. BRICS could develop their own reserve currency.
We may be witnessing the fall of the Western-led world order right in front of our eyes, and this could be the first domino. Saudi Arabia has just expressed their interest in joining the Russian-initiated BRICS alliance, which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now, if you don't know about BRICS, I highly suggest looking up their ambitions in detail, but one of their agendas high up on their list is attempting to reform global finance and reducing the US dollar's dominance. And funnily enough, the Saudis' interest in joining BRICS has only come weeks after Biden threatened Saudi Arabia with consequences for massively cutting oil production. They even responded to Biden's threats by saying this:
anybody that challenges the existence of this country, they are projects of jihad and martyrdom.
So the question is, how much longer do you think that Western countries will dominate?
Say goodbye to PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, and Stripe. There's a new big dog in town called FedNow. set to release July of 2023. Santa Maria. Now the Federal Reserve is for sure going to be tracking each transaction that we make. For those that owe money to the IRS, believe me, they're going to be garnishing accounts left and right. Even for the ones that owe child support on back pay, garnished. You owe money to a debt collector, garnished. You owe money to a creditor, garnished. This is about to be a wild year, y'all.
Goodbye, Zelle. Good.
The U.S. Federal Reserve launches their own Cash App.
Early Adopter Workshop. Together, we'll be ready to launch the FedNow service between May and July of 2023. The FedNow service will transform the way everyday payments are made throughout the economy, bringing substantial gains to households and businesses through the ability to send instant payments at any time on any day with funds immediately available.
An all-digital system gives ultimately the people who control the central banks and the banking system an ability to literally turn on and off your money if you don't do exactly what they say. And exactly what you say includes taxation without representation, healthcare mandates, and literally taking away your kids.
CBDC. If that happens, we're done.
A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use.
The U.S.
Guys, the Federal Reserve has announced their new payment processor, okay? This is going to give the government full access, 24/7 access to your personal accounts, to your business accounts, okay? Forget about Cash App, okay? Remember, they said that you have to report anything over $600. Well, this, guys, it's constantly reporting, okay? They have full access. There's no way for you to lie about your income, for you to evade taxes, money laundering, none of that, okay? All eyes are going to be on your bank account at all times. Uncle Sam is going to be in your pockets, in your business, okay? So guys, FedNow is a payment processor that's going to be rolled out July of 2023, guys, okay? This is where we're at right now. Many changes.
Man, conspiracy theories are about to have a field day after this one. To be honest, they ain't even try to hide this shit, right? The Federal Reserve made its own app to transfer currency online, similar to PayPal, Cash App, all that shit. I mean, that's cool and all, but the timing of when they announced this shit, it's so damn suspicious. I mean, it's not even a coincidence because they announced it right after. I mean, the body ain't even cold yet. The CEO of Cash App got stabbed to death yesterday, and they announcing this shit today? Man, this country is crazy as hell. I mean, they doing it right in our faces, but the thing is, we can't really do nothing about it. Man, conspiracy theory.
Worried about this. Took me a while to make this video because it's a lot to unpack. See, currently all banks use a payment rail called ACH, but as of July 1st, they'll be using FedNow, which is a payment processing system much like Zelle or Venmo, except it's owned by the government. And they operate more like eBay. See, when you buy something from eBay, you send the payment to them. They hold your money and then send it to the seller. So FedNow will be the middleman for your banking transactions. They'll hold your money and then send it to who you're trying to pay, which gives me the creeps. Because in the past, if we owe money in our taxes, they can just take it out our paycheck. Now they got direct access to our account. They didn't say they was going to do this, but they also didn't say that they was not. Now, the purpose of them tracking every dollar that we make and spend is so we can get closer to being a cashless society. And they can ultimately roll out a CBDC, which is a digital currency, much like a crypto, except it's owned by the government. Now, a ton of people feel like this is really weird timing since they rolled this out the same day that the founder of Cash App got unalived, but they announced this back in 2019, and I find it more strange that two banks who had similar programs are now both out of business. That plus the proposed Banking Act for All bill that they just announced, which if passed would mean every single human in America can now get a bank account. See, before you had to be an American human, meaning have an ID, social security number, etc. But with this new bill, they going full Oprah. It just screams desperate. Like, if y'all want access to everybody's money, just say that. It's been getting real ghetto here, and my passport is itching for stamps. Took me a while to make this video because it's a lot to unpack.